We are only a single major balance patch away from the new set hitting the live servers. Therefore, it is about time we start locking in our read and perfecting the lines that we expect to be viable on the launch, particularly for players playing for that Vegas snapshot. Today, we are jumping in game with Dishsoap in a 3-cost start, which can both serve us as a direction or an early game tempo. Our one is going to be Fiddlesticks, which is quite flexible and can work definitely as a decent tank in those earlier stages of the game. Therefore, we're opting to pair it all immediately together with the Karma and have a Sunfire for the slam if we wanted to, holding onto that Kuboko pair, which also links nicely with something like the Sprykins, for example the Veigar here. Quite flexible of a unit to be played around, and we're going to be opting buying out all the shop except the Gromp, which simply has a little bit of it's still a good unit to be playing around, particularly since he's adapter, but we do not have an adapter to pair with him. Our augment selection offers Pandora's items, generally should be utilized to accelerate your tempo slams. We have a Stone Plate, which in my opinion is also a great option to be slamming if you wanted to, or the Sunfire for early game, and could maybe fish for that last component to become a backline item, but we do not have an upgraded backliner just now. Cognitive Tax or Silver Spoon. Silver Spoon better for the tempo pushing if you wanted to. Cognitive Tax otherwise, since this is a slightly increased gold count, going to lose a tad of value, but otherwise can just be default as an econ option if your opener doesn't really lead anywhere and you're playing around a weaker one. Going to be rerolling it immediately as is the weaker one. Silver Destiny generically agrees and pickup to be taking. The extra 2 gold goes miles in the stage 2. Caretaker's Ally could provide us with a great direction as well. Generally going to be better in the later stages of the set when the lines are more balanced, but if you do not have a direction, something you can definitely consider taking up. I do not know why the text is right there. Residual Magic, extremely strong combat augment. Compare it to something like the boxing lessons that we know of. It's simply it's going to be stacking up quite high and is going to benefit your whole team without having to go around niche positioning. Instead, we're going to be ripping the Silver Destiny and we immediately get Kickstart, which generally signals that we want to be playing for tempo. Therefore, we level Slam that Stone Plate as well. We have an upgraded frontliner. Could have considered maybe we are lacking a little bit in damage compartment, so we could be looking to be playing around the Sunfire, but Belt is generally going to be a more flexible of a component to be playing around. Therefore, we are quite happy to leave it open. Have an upgraded Cinderling that I imagine we're going to be picking up or swapping out for Merkwolf. Not sure what's the better option. I would assume, yeah, just upgrade the Cinderling. We have the strong frontline presence. We have the Yorick to be pairing together here immediately for our Juggernaut. So we are quite good on that department. Just have to watch out for this Kha'Zix to not jump immediately on the backline. But thankfully, he's just a little bit of a bug at the moment and is not going to be taking out our backline right away. Hasn't had that evolved traits just yet. And we hopefully, yeah, we're going to re-aggro onto him and should have done just enough damage that Yorick Summon is going to go through and kill it off. Allows us to go on that, well, we added +1 to our 2 streak, so 3 streak right now. And we also pick up a Mama Beak in shop that we could be considering. Gives us some summoner synergy, allowing us to definitely look out for any form of weak. We could be pushing at the tempo. Could also pick up this do that jar. We're not going to be rerolling, so this is a free charm. And going to immediately slam it without even noticing the matchup. Could have just looked at the matchup and seen, hey, we can be holding on to this in case we do not need to be slamming it, but generally when we are playing for the tempo, we're probably going to be picking up, opting to not hold on to this Mama Beak, it seems. We're now going to be doing so. I think this fits the board quite nicely and maybe a little bit stronger than the Krug, but he's going to read that the Krug has that splash, has that single target nuke that could help us deal with some of the frontliners that we might be facing. Itemized right here. We have open belt, so yeah, picking up a Scuttle Crab here from the carousel completely makes sense. Warmog's incredibly strong augment item, and we're going to be aggressively leveling, fitting in 5 Rift Beasts right away. That's going to allow us to be looking for, have our next, well, accelerated pace at which we are going to be getting the overrun by Rift Beast to gain the shop. And interestingly, he's hoping to keep onto the Cinderling, the alpha mark, instead of the Krug. This should allow us to have a little bit more fight scaling into the fight as we have a sufficient amount of frontline. Well, the issue is we have tacked out the Juggernaut and we are hoping to make 20 and holding on to this Scuttle Crab as a possibility. If you're going to be get overrun out of Rift Beast, especially when you're playing for Rift Beast tempo, you definitely have a quite good chance to 3-star the Scuttle Crab, maybe 3-star Pebbles. The way you would be playing around 3-star Pebbles is generally just slot in 5 Rift Beast as soon as you can and play for the tempo. And it looks like we're going to be able to close out on a 5 streak, which is nicely executed here around this kickstart, which on its own might not be the strongest augment, but with the extra 2 gold, it's quite strong. And also it serves as a possibility to give you that direction, as we have seen throughout this game already. We are playing around those Rift Beasts, seeing where we can lead it. I am not happy to be playing in the vertical Rift Beast as much anymore, truly, simply because, well, you need to get to the dragon and then your high cap still isn't as high capped. And you need quite specific items. But if you are playing around the extra copies of early pebbles, for example, you have those exact pebbles items, you can just be pushing that level 7 Rift Beast, pushing for that Elder Dragon, and hopefully top 4. We're going to get overrun immediately here on 3-1 since we slotted in 5 already at 2-5. And we got a little bit more of the defensive components. Definitely want to be lookout for some form of a AD items here. So going to go up to use that Reforge aggressively, even without seeing the extra augment that might have changed our plans. Going to slam that Kraken Slayer, which signals to me that we might be considering playing into some form of an Aphelios line from here on out. One of the better users, at least if you're going to be Aphelios, or we can just utilize this as a tempo into something like the Draven, but we would want to be extra gold. Unfortunately, a streak gets broken here. Based within would give us the vibe which synergizes with our board right away, and Italy which would synergize with the Krug, but we have committed a Kraken Slayer which wouldn't exactly fit that board right away, even if our plan was to play around Sivir. Therefore, something like the Ascensions, we have a strong frontline there, is the probably most appealing combat option right away. Pilfer and Augment, then we have potentially a board that could farm these, but it's so long of a delayed value, and then we have to ask ourselves, does our final board have a TG user? Now, the Aphelios board, if that is our plan, we could just slap that onto the Brambleback, and that would be quite fine, but again, it's going to be quite low, and we're going to be having to sacrifice a little bit of a tempo. Our first augment was already enabled us this tempo, and now we have capitalized on it, we have gained some extra gold, but we do not have extra combat power funneled into our board in any form of items or a combat augments, right? Solo plate though, we are running a solo single play on plate already. This would beef that Skylo Crab incredibly. We have Kraken in the backline, so we have a little bit of a scaling aspect already to ourselves. This would work out greatly in my opinion, going 21 gold. If you wanted gold, Slamming also probably would be a little bit of a better option if you opted to push those extra levels. But if you want to be keeping up with our tempo game plan, since our board is so expensive right away, Stoneplate is the best pickup right here, and we are going to be route running with it right away. Going to level to 6, slot in the Kog'Maw right there for the Shred and Sunder, which is going to fit our board quite nicely. And he seems to be mapping out. He has already locked in his game plan. This is the cheaper version, I would say, right now about the Aphelios board that we are looking at. Generally, you are playing around more around those Vanguards, right? But with the Scuttle Crabs and getting overrun with Rift Beast, this is another variant you can definitely be gunning for. And it also allows you to be carrying, you know, that Mama Beak around those 2-star Mama Beak in stage 4 until you fully fish for your 2-star Aphelios, giving you a little bit of a buffer right there, especially if you're able to gauge that the lobby might not be the strongest, you're going to get away with playing around Mama Beak too. That is what makes the level 8 so actually one of the harder lines to be playing around, right? You constantly have to be adapting to the lobby and realizing like how much you need to be sending it. I've had too many games where I've just sent too much, and this way either have delayed my level 9 or not being able to make it truly to level 9, where I probably could have just simply realized, hey, this board is strong enough, I'm stable enough, and push. This is a skill that is hard to develop, as you also need to have good understanding of the other boards and synergies with the augments. Probably going to be, well, we are going to be fishing now for another component. Another bow probably is going to be most appealing when we're going to be getting it, as it's on a 1 cost. Gives us that last whisper, which we do not need right away, but is something that we can be considering for that Aphelios line, right? And we're going to be we're going to be slamming it. We have the Kog'Maw right away, but this is completely fine to be slotted in right now, holding on all to those extra Skylo Crabs that we have right now. We have one Gromp on bench and one in shop, but I do not think that's going to be a final game plan. Probably just forgetting that we have one on bench and holding on to it for whatever reason. Queuing into a Tristana, which does have that single target to be dealing with our Skylo Crab, so unfortunately we're going to be losing our streak once again. Still very nicely capitalized tempo spot right here, and if we were to pick up another round right here, we could be considering seeing if we can maybe push level 9. We have another overrun with Frisbees coming in, I believe, at 4-2. But then if we wanted to pivot to something like the like the Draven board, that would still require us to hit a Econ, Augment and Sacking stage 4, which can be quite risky. But if you gauge that the lobby might not be spiking as hard as possibility to be considering, there is this player playing around. I would assume this is going to be leading in some kind of Soraka flex, Executioner, Spell Lever, call it whatever flex. The board, you know, around Flora Fatalis and Malphite. I would assume there's going to be a plan. There is a player rerolling Warwick right there, and this is also seems to be a solo reroller right there. So the 2 costs are going to get pulled out, so I would assume we have a decent chance of getting the Scuttle Crab whenever we're getting overrun. And okay, we get to the 4-1, so it does cut PV rounds, my bad. Obviously should have realized that before, because we did so on, we did get it already at 3-1. Going to be upgrading, rerolling here on level 7, so this is signaling to me that we might be considering playing around this Mama Beak instead as our primary carry. Unfortunately, we're not able to 2-star her, but have managed to pick up another copy of Scuttle Crab, and we are pivoting into this board. We hit the Sentinel too, but this is going to be a heavy investment into Sentinel too. We're not running any Vanguards right now, and this is 12 gold sitting on our bench. Maybe one stun can be considered to be worthwhile, but it is heavy investment since we're not itemizing him, right? Max build has been nerfed quite a few times, but you need to be in spot to be pushing the level 9. Now we are at 57 HP, we are looking to be stabilizing here, probably now on level 7 that we have rolled. Therefore, probably extra econ through booster pack is going to be more appealing for that case. Clock Effect Accelerator though, we have strong frontline. If we wanted to be truly playing for the potential to win out, we would be angling a combat or item augment in this kind of a spot. Especially by playing a little bit of a line that might be considered to not be the strongest one in game, you want to bridge that gap somehow. And that is probably going to be the best appealing option right there. Verticality. If you are playing vertical Bizbees, this would be an overlap. Otherwise, great for something like your vertical Elderwood, where anyone's just going to gain his benefit. Malicious Monetization. We are not going level 8 and full sending it and hoping that this is going to get cashed out again. An augment that has been, well, last set to be nerfed quite a few times. Therefore, we're going to be picking up Clockwork Acceleration. We have a open bow, but we do not have something like the Rage Blade if our plan is to be playing either around Aphelios or Mama Beak. Those are the units that kind of truly want to have that Rage Blade, particularly Mama Beak, because her ability has that component where for X amount of time, she has those on every attack. That is exactly a synergizer to tell you, hey, this unit truly loves extra attack speed. So we're just going to be slamming red buff for now. It's going to be working out fine. We want that anti-heal sorted out anyhow, and we're going to be rolling with it. And the Scuttle Crab is going to be holding on to our alpha mark throughout. The extra healing you gain, the durability your team gains from the Scuttle Crab is going to be is usually very, very strong. Therefore, default option that you can be picking up, and we are realizing that we probably want this little bit more of survivability, particularly since it is our solo frontliner pretty much throughout has been throughout the game, and probably is going to be remaining as so. As I do not think we're going to be fishing for Krug. We are running 7 Rift Beasts though, so we also have that extra scaling, therefore it's nice to have. And we have Clockwork Accelerator, so we want to have durability. We have the damage compartment taken out by the 7 Rift Beasts that we're greeding now to be receiving those extra overrun shops, which are going to alleviate the fact that we do not have an Econ augment to be hitting faster. And obviously it's going to give us the stat boost. Picking up another bow because probably we're looking for Aphelios to be our duo carry once we get there. Still quite far ways away from this Mama Beak, but thankfully managed to 3-star the Scuttle Crab, which is hopefully going to be a sufficient amount of frontline for us to scale and have a competitive stage for the remainder of the stage 4. Also not going to put us in a position where everyone be fishing. Kha'Zix does make it to our backline right away, does trickle down this Mama Beak quite a bit, and 3 jumps onto her, and that's going to take us out. And now we might not have the damage to be dealing with it. Now this Scuttle Crab is surprisingly putting in a lot of work and able to clear up the fight. Truly a team effort. The scaling when from the 7 Rift Beast went through, and we were able to pick up a crucial win right here, which puts us in a pretty commanding spot as long as we can hit our units. Still quite far ways, holding onto that Zyra and obviously Diana, as much if Aphelios Diana can be slotted in, it's going to synergize with that Sentinel, and we want some form of a summoner. We're not even running summoner for our Mama Beak right away, so her damage is heavily hindered. Whenever you're playing around these summoners, you generally want to be attacking another summoner, and Yorick is usually a nice link right here, which we're holding onto the bench, which is going to synergize with the Scuttle Crab. But since we have secured that HP lead, and now I managed to even put up a very strong stage 4 because probably because we pick up that Clockwork Accelerator, which is generally considered not to be the strongest of the combat augments. It's very nicely allowed us to now greed the 7 Rift Beast, extra 4 Dow's overrun shops. Do get double rods, so probably signals that maybe we want to be considering Zyra as our next carry, particularly also because we have that Spear of Shojin made. Could just be fishing for, well, maybe, yeah, that red cap Rageblade right there sorted out, and then probably move the red buff would be my guess, but this Gromp is going to be holding them for now. Sent it down after the overrun and managed to pick up our Mama Beak 3 nicely on pace, getting the 3-star 3 cost on 5-1 is generally when you want to be doing so. Mostly, but I think there is some optimization still be to made around this comp. If you are playing a vertical Rift Beast, you would be chasing that Krug 3, but I do not think that is our game plan, and whenever you are playing for rerolls, right, you want to be rerolling for multiple units to gain more value out of your shops. We have not opted to do so. Going to be pushing the level here on interval, pick up a cheap charm. Could have maybe he wanted specifically to be having a cheaper charm, right? Because if you buy out your shop, essentially the charms that show up can be worth only, you have to be able to buy them, afford to buy them. So if you're holding on to extra units in the shop, and your drop bound lasts about 5 gold, which are, well, most of the more expensive charms are about 5 gold. If you are below that when you reroll and have a charm shop, it's going to be cheaper. If you want to have that strong combat charm, particularly in stage 5 where they matter a lot, to be worth the 5 gold, you're going to be making sure you have at least that 5 gold. Do not think we can take a polymorph here. Still haven't found a single Aphelios right now, but we find the Elder Dragon, which we're going to be slitting in. Have a possibility to remake our items, but no, we bought it and not going to be doing so. There is a Caitlyn reroller, another comp that I am on the lookout for to see. Have seen it being played a lot, but haven't seen it from any of our streamers, right, really, or at least the ones that have public awards right there. We're going to be losing here to the Vanguard, Diana. Close fight, close fight. Perhaps if we had a little bit of a stronger board, as pretty much, well, our board right now. We have those 3 stars, but apart from it, the 7 Rift Beast, and we have the scaling aspect, which is heavily making up for the unit quality that we don't exactly have right now. We are going to be now picking up again the Sentinel 2, which we remake because we realized that the investment was quite heavy. I'm fine at Aphelios, even though it was with the Hodge pay, it's fine. For Aphelios Fair, going to be slotting into our more wide board right here. Still running that Kog'Maw right there, which is going to at least sort out for the Zyra the anti-magic resist. And you're going to give her Rageblade, lots of attack speed generation on her. Maybe wanted to have that on Aphelios and then just have Strikers Flare for some damage jump, or he just simply values that he wants to get those extra plants for the durability out a little bit faster. Nonetheless, this secures ourselves a top 4, and nicely played around the tempo earlier on. And not going to opting to upgrade this Kog'Maw, so it signals that we have something we planned for that last slot. Just not exactly sure what it might be. Okay, we wanted to get that Rageblade onto the Mama Beak. Yeah, this is going to be nice. This is going to generally improve our itemization. Obviously want to have the support item mostly off and move our mark now onto the Mama Beak. She has that built-in more attacking at magic resistance under, but unfortunately we queue into this Kale matchup. Close fight right here. But this Kale matchup with the Ornn and Xayah, whenever you're getting to that artifact, it's hard to miss. And this player has hit Titanic Hydra, which is one of the best ones you have. Only thing we could be noting about that is he doesn't have exactly the best otherwise item build on her. But this comp is, once you hit everything and cash out an artifact, is by some players considered to be almost a free top 2. So expecting that to be a very strong comp going into the set launch. Not going to be going. I was just thinking we had the possibility of picking up another Rage Blade if we wanted to, but instead we are opting to fully invest in improving our itemization on our highest cost unit. And Giant Slayer is going to be helping us to deal with such strong front lines here as the Sentinel 2, which is going to have the stuns going out as well. The Rengal reroll is generally something that is truly enabled by these emblems, but we're able to retarget on it, take it out. The stun goes out, but there's also the Age of Night proc from Diana, but they have had the scaling from the Clockwork Accelerator and Rage Blade to be retargeting and securing ourselves a top 2. Now we just have to beat this Kale reroll player, which has been streaking for quite a while. Going to now invest into the Kog'Maw. Wanting to we have to fish for a strong combat charm to have a chance against this board, as they just simply have so much damage. and we're going to be spreading out our backline so that maybe we can tack out the Kale Waves for a little bit and get him on the opposite side. We are opposite side from the Ashe, which is nice, able to get through this Sejuani, but they also have the scaling aspect on their side with the Ascension that's going to kick in, and the last, that might be just the difference between combat charms. Nice spot recognition by Dishsoap, recognizing that he can be trying out this perhaps a little bit less popular line. Obviously, we later on converged towards this more known Aphelios line in a little bit of a different variant, but truly showing that Mama Beak finally can also be considered as a potential reroll, utilize those extra Rift Beast shops to make up for the lack of Econ Augment, and heavily indexed on the item and combat scaling in our lighter augment selection, which allowed us to bridge the gap and compete against one of the strongest comps in the game. Dynamic with his itemization, constantly wanting to make sure that our Mama Beak has the strongest possible itemization, then our supporting carries can be carrying all that utility, nicely identifying the timing when we can be swapping to this better board state. I would like to thank you for watching. I hope that you learned something new, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.